Canning.
Much indeed. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship this morning, as was alluded to by my colleague from Crewe and Natbridge a moment ago. And this debate is enormously important. Hospitals are very often the heart, literally, of our communities. The staff in our hospitals, from whatever job they do a fantastic job, and I think it's right and proper that we should pay tribute to them. But the working environment that they work in is also vitally important to them. And a little history lesson from Hemel Hempstead in southwest Hertfordshire, in my part of the world, where we had three acute hospitals, until just 20 years ago, just over 20 years ago, when St Albans was closed as an acute hospital, and the promise was made at that time that that facility of the emergency facility would be picked up by the Hemel Hempstead constituency and partly by Watford. But that promise was made, and then sadly Hemel Hempstead was closed, and I'm not going to go into party politics, but by the previous administration, which we fought tooth and nail, like most constituency MPs would do so, to save it. So now we have elective surgery, partly elective surgery for non-emergency care at St Albans. I have a clinic, Mr Chairman, at Hemel Hospital. There's no other way you can describe it. 3/4, if not more, of my hospital was boarded up or vandalised on a site which is worth thousands and millions of pounds. And I was thrilled, absolutely thrilled, when the Prime Minister announced in Watford, at the Watford Hospital, which is the only acute hospital we have left in our part of the world, that we were in the top 6 to get a brand new hospital in our part of the world. And that thrilled us, not because we wanted to suddenly bring back our hospital. We understand the restrictions on that and what a modern hospital needs to provide for a community. We were thrilled, but within hours of the Prime Minister announcing that we was in the top 6 and the funding was there, unlike, it sounds like the management in my colleague's constituency, the management's ruled out a new hospital on a greenfield site. Now, like many of our colleagues, the population in our part of the world, on the edge of London, is booming. We have a thriving economy, we have more jobs, and we've actually got people to fill them, even after the pandemic. Population is massively growing. I've got 20,000 homes in the next 15 years coming to my own constituency. The logic of actually not building a new hospital on a greenfield site where sites are available is confusing to everybody, especially if you know that Watford Hospital is next to the Watford football ground in the middle of a Victorian town in a Victorian hospital. And all we've been offered was a refurbishment of Watford and a running down even more of the Hemel site. And what fascinated me is that the Trust seem to be completely unaccountable to the politicians that are giving them the money to look after the care in our constituencies. And I know the bill that's going through Parliament at the moment is going to address that going forward, but it doesn't address the problem that is a historic problem for going backwards. And they've come up with, they spent millions of pounds proving that we can't have a new hospital on a greenfield site, rather than actually spending some of their consultancy money proving that we could have that on a greenfield site. And my constituents have been campaigning on this long before I was around to save the Hemel Hospital, cross-party support in our part of the world, to actually say Watford is not the right place, and it is not a new hospital. It is a refurbished hospital in the completely wrong place. Please see sense. Now, I fully understand that the constituents in Watford are worried that they might lose their hospital. Well, they're not going to lose their hospital because nothing's going to close until the new one opens. But we've already lost ours. The largest town in Hertfordshire has a clinic with proposals going forward for no intermediate beds whatsoever. We're taking pathology away literally as we speak at the moment. So the point I'm going to try and make to the Minister is we have to be careful when we look at the bids that come in, that the trusts have done what they were supposed to do, which is look at the best possible options for the community that they are supposed to serve the same as we are serving, rather than be blindfolded by the situation that they seem fixated, in my particular case, with one site in the middle of a town next to a football stadium, which anybody's logic would seem to be ludicrous. And I wish Watford every success. They may well stay up again this season. I'm not a Watford fan. Most of my constituents are. I'm sad to say a Spurs supporter, and that comes with a lot of problems, as we know. But when Watford play at home, there is a massive knock-on effect on the hospital next door, which, believe it or not, the Trust give up some of their parking spaces to the football club, which is an historic agreement. And I give an instance where an ambulance was turned away from the route it would normally take into the hospital because Watford were playing. I'm not blaming Watford for this, and I'm not blaming police. This is just a logistical problem. It was turned away and sent on a different route because the road was closed because of the home game. I said to the police officer in charge of that, if one of your officers was injured, what would you have done? Would you allow the ambulance through? And he said, well, of course we would have done, because that was the guy in the back of the ambulance that was trying to get to the hospital had a heart attack. Fortunately, he survived. But this is the sort of illogical thinking that's going on in some of the trusts, clearly not in my colleagues' trust, but in my trust, where the unaccountability of the trust to do what is right for the people they serve seems to be blindfolded. And I would politely ask the Minister, and he knows I've been pushing on this for more years than I can now remember, please don't trust the management of my trust with giving the full information. We want a new hospital on a greenfield site. I've got letters showing it's £590 million available for that, but not for a refurbishment. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.